Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the legends. 5 extraordinary Australian 50-cent coins worth anywhere from $13,000 to $57,000, from modern minting errors to the silver masterpiece of 1966. These coins have captured the imagination of collectors across the world. So grab your magnifying glass, sit back and get ready, because you're about to discover the hidden fortune that might be sitting right in your pocket. Let's moving on. First up, you might want to check your spare change, because one of the most ordinary coins in Australia's history hides an extraordinary secret worth up to $13,000. It's the 2010 Australian upset die 50-cent coin, a small silver anomaly that turned the numismatic world upside down. Back in 2010, the Royal Australian Mint was busy producing millions of 50-cent coins. These were your everyday coins, octagonal, silver in color, made of cupro nickel, featuring the familiar portrait of Queen Elizabeth, 2 on one side and the Australian coat of arms on the other. Every coin looked identical, every detail perfect. Or so it seemed. But deep within the high-speed minting presses, something strange happened. Somewhere during one of those long production runs, a mechanical misalignment occurred. The dies, the metal pieces that stamp each side of a coin, lost their perfect alignment. Instead of striking the coin in perfect 180-degree opposition, the dies shifted just enough to rotate the design. The Queen's portrait on the front no longer matched the correct orientation with the coat of arms on the back. In coin collecting terms, this is what's called an upset die error, and it's far rarer than most people realize. To the average eye, you might not notice it immediately, but turn that coin slowly in your fingers and suddenly something feels off. The Queen's head seems tilted when compared to the reverse. It's subtle, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. And for coin collectors, those subtle mistakes mean everything. When word first got out about the 2010 upset die error, collectors couldn't believe it. How could a modern coin struck with such precision contain such a glaring flaw? Yet reports started surfacing from every day. Australians, someone in Sydney noticed it, another collector in Perth found one in their loose change, and before long numismatic forums were buzzing with excitement. The error had slipped past the Mint's quality control and quietly entered circulation. At first, these coins sold for a few $100s. Then the prices started to climb quickly. Collectors love a good story, and this coin had it all: rarity, mystery, and a perfectly verifiable minting error. By the time serious numismatists and auction houses got involved, prices had jumped into the thousands. Today, pristine uncirculated examples, coins that have never been handled or scratched, have been known to sell for as much as $13,000. To understand why, you have to look at what drives the coin market. It's not just about age or metal content. It's about scarcity and story. The upset die coin tells both. Unlike deliberate commemorative issues, this was a mistake, an accident, a 1 in a million production quirk that somehow escaped detection. The number of known examples is believed to be very small, possibly just a few dozen in top condition. That level of rarity puts it in the same league as some of the most valuable Australian minting errors ever recorded. But what makes this story even more fascinating is the level of precision involved in modern minting. Each die is engineered to fit perfectly, with computer-guided alignment and pressure calibration. For something like this to happen, it means one die was rotated slightly out of place, and no one noticed during striking. It's the kind of mistake that could happen for only a short production run, maybe just a few minutes, before the machine was recalibrated. In that tiny window of time, a handful of coins were born with an unmistakable twist. Imagine being the person who first found one. Maybe they were counting change at a supermarket. Maybe they were rolling coins for deposit. They turn one over and notice something weird. They line it up with another 50-cent coin. Flip it over, and the Queen is at a different angle. That small observation could be worth thousands. Collectors today search for this coin with incredible determination. Some carry magnifying glasses. Others keep rotation charts. They look for that unmistakable misalignment. The Queen's head turned ever so slightly away from where it should be. And it's not just about the money. For many, it's the thrill of discovery. There's something deeply satisfying about finding a piece of history that the Mint never intended to exist. Each upset die coin tells a story of imperfection in a system built for precision, a reminder that even in mass production, true rarity can still emerge by accident. If you have a jar of 50-cent coins at home, take a moment to look closer. Line the Queen upright, flip it over, and check where the coat of arms sits. If it's rotated off by 30 or 40 degrees, you might just be holding one of the most valuable Australian coins of the modern era. The market for minting errors like this continues to grow. Collectors are constantly seeking out unique variations, double strikes, off-center prints, die clashes, and of course, rotation errors. But the 2010 upset die 50-cent coin stands out as one of the most iconic examples from recent decades. Its value isn't just in the metal or even in the rarity, it's in the story it tells, a story of chance, precision, and the thrill of discovery. So before you spend your next 50-cent coin, take one extra second to flip it around. You never know, you might just have a little piece of minting history worth more than $10,000 sitting right in the palm of your hand. Sometimes the most valuable treasures aren't hidden in vaults or museums. Sometimes they're right there in your change, waiting for the right eyes to notice them. Next up, you might want to take a deep breath before checking your coin collection. Because somewhere in Australia's loose change circulation, there's a small silvery 50-cent coin that doesn't look any different at first glance, but it could be worth as much as $20,000. It's one of the most fascinating and mysterious modern errors ever produced by the Royal Australian Mint. It's called the 2000 Australian Incuse Flag 50-cent coin, and its story is a mix of rarity, craftsmanship, and pure luck. Back in the year 2000, Australia was in a celebratory mood. The new millennium had just begun. The Sydney Olympics were right around the corner, and the Royal Australian Mint was busy, producing millions of coins to mark the new era. Among them was the standard 50-cent coin, proudly displaying the Australian coat of arms on one side and Queen Elizabeth II on the other, an iconic design familiar to everyone. But hidden among the millions of ordinary coins, something extraordinary slipped through the presses. Collectors would later nickname it the Incuse Flag error, and at first only a handful of people even noticed it existed. At a casual glance, it looks identical to every other 2000-dated 50-cent coin, but if you study it closely, really closely, you'll notice something remarkable, part of the design. Specifically, the Union Jack within the flag in the coat of arms appears sunken or pressed inward rather than raised as it normally should be. That subtle difference, a detail barely noticeable to the naked eye, changed everything. To understand how significant this is, you have to know a bit about how coins are made. Every coin starts with two dies, one for the obverse, the front, and one for the reverse, the back. These dies are engraved with intricate designs that are struck onto blank metal discs under enormous pressure, often hundreds of tons. The raised parts of the die create the recessed parts of the coin's design, and vice versa. It's a process that demands absolute precision, but in the case of the 2050-cent coin, something unusual happened. The Mint accidentally used a mismatched die pair, one that was engraved differently from the standard issue. One of the dies had an incus element where it should have been in relief, meaning the Union Jack area of the flag was struck inward instead of outward. It wasn't a scratch, it wasn't damage, and it wasn't post-mint tampering. It was a genuine die variety, a true minting anomaly. When the first examples of this coin were discovered, collectors were stunned. At first, some thought it was fake or altered, but under magnification and careful analysis by numismatic experts, the evidence was clear. It was genuine, minted at the Royal Australian Mint, and extremely rare. This wasn't just a casual production mistake. It was a die variety that resulted from an entirely different die setup, likely used for testing or limited production, that accidentally found its way into general circulation. And the number of known examples? Incredibly low. Some experts estimate fewer than 200 coins may exist. Others think the number could be even smaller. Once word spread across coin forums, collecting circles, and auction houses, the Incuse Flag 50-cent coin became a modern legend. Collectors began scouring their change, flipping through thousands of coins hoping to find one. Dealers started offering big money for confirmed examples. Prices climbed fast, first hundreds, then thousands. And as the years went by, the coin's mystique only grew. Today, pristine, uncirculated specimens have been known to sell for as much as $20,000, making it one of the most valuable Australian 50-cent coins ever struck in modern times. But this isn't just about money. The reason collectors prize it so highly goes deeper. It's about the story, the improbability that in a system so precise, something like this could happen at all. The Royal Australian Mint is renowned for its accuracy and stringent quality control. For a mismatched die with such a distinctive variation to reach circulation, it must have happened during a fleeting, almost impossible moment of oversight. And somehow a few of those coins survived, tucked away in cash drawers, pockets, or collections, waiting for sharp-eyed enthusiasts to spot them decades later. Imagine this. You're sorting through a jar of coins at home, maybe just looking for something to take to the bank. You line up a few 50-cent pieces from the year 2000. You tilt one under the light, and suddenly, you notice something unusual. The flag on the coat of arms looks different. You squint closer. The Union Jack seems to sink into the metal instead of rising above it. Your heart starts racing. Could this be it? Could you be holding one of the rarest modern Australian coins ever minted? That's the thrill of the hunt that drives collectors. The possibility that an extraordinary rarity might be hiding in plain sight. And it's that sense of discovery that gives coins like the 2000 Incuse Flag 50 cent their immense appeal. They're not just pieces of metal, they're time capsules, snapshots of human error, precision, and chance. Each one tells a story about how even the most carefully managed systems can produce something unique, something that defies the odds. Over the years, numismatic experts have examined the known examples of the Incuse Flag variety, confirming its legitimacy and rarity. Many of these coins now sit in private collections, encapsulated in protective holders, graded by professional coin certification services. A handful occasionally surface at major Australian coin auctions, drawing intense bidding wars among serious collectors. Even circulated examples, worn, scratched, or dull from years of handling, can still command thousands. And yet, because the difference is so subtle, there's always that lingering possibility that more might still be out there. Maybe sitting unnoticed in a family coin jar, maybe buried at the bottom of a glove box, or rattling around in a forgotten piggy bank somewhere in Perth, Melbourne, or Brisbane. The thought that such a valuable piece of minting history could still be hiding in everyday circulation keeps collectors searching. The Incuse Flag 50-cent coin stands as a reminder that even in an era of machines, precision and control, true rarity can still emerge by accident. It's proof that value isn't always about gold or silver content. It's about story, scarcity, and the human element behind every minting process. So the next time you find a 2050-cent coin in your change, take a closer look. Hold it under the light. Examine that tiny flag. If the Union Jack appears sunken instead of raised, don't spend it because you might just be holding a $20,000 treasure that tells one of the most fascinating stories in Australian coin history. Sometimes the smallest details hold the biggest fortunes. And maybe, just maybe, the next coin that changes your life is already sitting in your pocket. Next up, you might want to look twice at your old Australian coins because one of them, a small silver 50-cent piece from 1993, could secretly be worth up to $25,000. It's called the 1993 No SD 50-cent coin, and it's one of the most elusive and mysterious modern coin rarities in Australian history. At first glance, it looks exactly like any other 50-cent coin from the early 1990s. The same shape, the same cupro nickel finish, the same coat of arms on the reverse, and the same regal portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the front. Millions were produced, handed out in change across the country, tossed in jars and forgotten in drawers. But hidden among them, a handful of coins emerged missing a crucial detail, a tiny, almost invisible signature that turned them from ordinary change into a numismatic masterpiece. To understand the story, we have to go back to the design itself. The reverse of Australia's 50-cent coin, featuring the national coat of arms, with the kangaroo, the emu, and the ornate shield, was created by the celebrated sculptor Stuart Devlin, who designed many of Australia's most iconic coins. Beneath the emu's foot, in microscopic letters, every coin normally carries his initials, SD. It's his mark, his signature, and his recognition for the artistry behind the design. But in 1993, something strange happened. A small batch of coins was struck without that tiny SD engraving. The designer's initials were missing. No one noticed at first, after all. It's an almost microscopic detail that most people wouldn't think to look for. But when coin collectors and numismatists eventually spotted it, they realized this was something extraordinary. The absence of those two little letters meant only one thing. A different die had been used, one that hadn't been properly finished. Somewhere in the mint, a die was polished, touched up, or perhaps mistakenly prepared for production before the initials were re-added. The result? A very limited run of 1993 coins with a perfectly clean reverse, no SD beneath the emu's foot, just blank metal. That tiny omission changed everything. At first, collectors dismissed early reports as rumors. Some thought people were just overlooking worn-down initials on circulated coins. But when high-grade examples surfaced under magnification, experts confirmed it. The area wasn't worn. It was never engraved in the first place. The SD wasn't rubbed off. It was never there. That meant it was a genuine die variety. A legitimate minting error that slipped into public circulation unnoticed. Once authenticated, the coin's legend spread quickly. Collectors began scouring through their coin jars, examining every 1993 50-cent piece under bright lamps and magnifying lenses. Forums lit up with speculation and grainy photos. People were obsessed with finding one. But the truth soon became clear. They were almost impossibly rare. Over the years, only a tiny number of confirmed no SD coins have been found. Some estimates suggest fewer than 10 examples in collectible condition exist. Others believe there could be a few more still hiding out there, waiting to be discovered. But regardless of the exact number, one thing is certain. It's one of the rarest Australian circulation coins ever made. And the market reflects that. When one of these elusive coins appears for sale, it sends ripples through the numismatic community. Even circulated examples have been known to fetch several $1,000s, while pristine uncirculated specimens can command jaw-dropping prices, as high as $25,000 or more at major auctions. But what makes this coin so fascinating isn't just its rarity, it's what it represents. A tiny human oversight in a process built for perfection. The Royal Australian Mint prides itself on precision. Every die is carefully examined, polished, and inspected before being used. But even in such a controlled environment, small mistakes can still happen. And when they do, they create some of the most desirable coins in the hobby. Imagine the story behind it. A mint worker in 1993 prepares a die for striking. The polishing process smooths away microscopic details. Maybe they're in a rush. Maybe the die is needed for production immediately. The press starts up, hundreds of coins are struck, bagged, and sent out. And no one notices that the tiny SD initials are missing. Those coins begin their quiet journey into the world, jingling in pockets, passing from hand to hand, until, years later, someone with a keen eye spots something odd. They hold it under the light. They check beneath the emu's foot. The area is blank, completely smooth. Their pulse quickens. They grab a magnifying glass and double-check against another coin. The initials are missing. It's not a trick of the light. It's real. Right there, in their hand, is a 1993 no SD 50-cent coin, a piece of minting history. Collectors today regard it as a modern Australian treasure, one of the most famous missing initials errors ever struck. It's part of a small elite category of coins that includes legends like the 2000 Incuse Flag and the 2010 upset die. Coins where a minor variation or mechanical mishap created something truly exceptional. And beyond its monetary value, it's a powerful reminder of why coin collecting remains so captivating. Every coin tells a story. Most are common, ordinary, mass-produced, and forgettable. But every so often, one emerges that challenges expectations, that slips through the cracks, that holds a secret only the observant can find. If you want to check your own coins, look closely at any 1993 Australian 50-cent piece. Turn it under a light and focus your eyes just below the emu's foot on the right side of the coat of arms. You should normally see two tiny letters, ST. If they're missing entirely with no sign of wear or fading, you might just have one of the most valuable Australian-era coins ever discovered. So take a look. You never know what's hiding in your change drawer, your old coin jars, or the forgotten pile of coins sitting in a box in your garage. That small silver 50-cent coin from 1993 might just hold a story worth $25,000, a story of craftsmanship, human error, and the thrill of discovering something extraordinary. Because sometimes, it's not the coins that look the shiniest that hold the most value. It's the ones that dared to be a little different. The ones that, by accident or fate, ended up becoming legends. Check your change because the next rare Australian coin might already be sitting right in front of you, waiting for you to notice the detail that everyone else missed. Next up, you might want to grab your coin jar right now, because there's a chance, however small, that you're sitting on one of the rarest modern Australian coins ever released into circulation. A simple, everyday-looking 985 Australian 50-cent coin that could be worth an astonishing $35,000. At first glance, It's the same familiar shape and size as every other 50-cent piece. The classic dodecagon design. 12 sides, made of cupro-nickel, gleaming silver under the light. The same Queen Elizabeth II portrait on the obverse. The same Australian coat of arms on the reverse. Nothing about it seems unusual. But behind its ordinary appearance lies a story of scarcity so dramatic that it has captured the fascination of coin collectors for nearly 4 decades. The mystery of the 1985 50-cent coin begins with the Royal Australian Mint's production records. In that year, the Mint's output for the 50-cent denomination was drastically reduced. Australia had a surplus of coins from the years before, and the Mint decided to strike only a limited batch, not for wide public release, but mostly for collector sets. Those sets were sold to enthusiasts, neatly packaged, sealed, and cherished by a relatively small number of people. Very few of these coins were ever intended to enter general circulation, and that's where the legend was born. For years, collectors assumed that every 1985 50-cent coin was locked away inside mint sets, untouched, pristine, and protected. But then, the impossible happened. One day, an example turned up in everyday circulation. Someone found one in their change. Then another surfaced, and another. Not many, but just enough to make the numismatic world pause and wonder, how did they get out? To this day, no one knows for certain how those few coins escaped the collector packaging and entered the public domain. Maybe a small number of sets were broken up. Maybe a handful of coins slipped through the cracks during production. Whatever the reason, the result was extraordinary. A circulation year. Coin so rare that its value skyrocketed beyond anyone's expectations. The 1985 50-cent coin quickly became one of the most hunted pieces in Australian modern coinage. Now you might be thinking, if the Mint produced thousands for sets, why are they so valuable? The answer lies in a combination of rarity, condition, and circulation mystery. Only a small fraction of those coins ever entered public hands. Most were preserved in sets, and those that escaped were few, making true circulation strikes incredibly scarce. Some experts believe the number of circulating examples could be fewer than a few hundred, perhaps even less, and that's where things get fascinating. Unlike proof or uncirculated set coins, circulation strikes have their own mystique. They're survivors. They've been handled, spent, and rediscovered, carrying with them the story of how they slipped out of their intended destiny. For collectors, that adds enormous emotional and historical value. But there's another reason the 1985 50-cent coin is so iconic. It marks a transitional point in Australian coinage. That year, the Mint introduced a new effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Raphael Makhlouf, replacing the earlier portrait by Arnold Machine. It was a modernization of the Queen's image. Softer, more regal, and distinctly different from the previous design. This change made the 1985 issue the very first 50-cent coin to feature the Makhlouf portrait. That alone gives it an important place in numismatic history. Combine that milestone with the extreme scarcity of coins actually released to the public, and you have the perfect storm for collector mania. When the first few examples of the 1985 50-cent coin began appearing at auctions, they caused a sensation. Collectors couldn't believe the prices being paid. Hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands. By the 2020s, pristine examples, especially those verified as genuine circulation strikes, had sold for as much as $35,000. Even coins in slightly circulated condition can still fetch remarkable sums. Simply because so few have ever surfaced, let's take a moment to appreciate how extraordinary that is. A coin with a face value of just 50 cents. A coin that could have bought you a can of soft drink in 1985 now commands enough to buy a brand new car. That's the magic of numismatics, rarity, history, and the human stories behind them. Imagine this scene. You're at home sorting through old coins. Maybe they're in a tin, maybe in a box that's been sitting untouched for years. You pick up a 50-cent coin. It's from 1985. Your pulse quickens because you know the legend. You hold it up to the light, inspecting every detail. The shape feels familiar, but you can't shake the thought. Could this be one of the few? Could this be one of the ultra-rare circulation pieces worth tens of thousands? That's the thrill that keeps collectors searching. The idea that an extraordinary discovery might still be out there, hiding in plain sight. Over the decades, only a handful of confirmed 1985 circulation strikes have been authenticated by professional grading services. The majority of surviving examples remain locked in mint sets, untouched since the day they were sealed. But that doesn't stop the hunt. Collectors across Australia continue to check every 50-cent coin they come across, hoping to find one of those legendary escapees. And because this coin bridge is that fascinating, transition from the Machin to the Macloof portrait, from mint set exclusivity to accidental circulation rarity. It has become a cornerstone of modern Australian coin collecting. What's truly captivating about coins like this isn't just their monetary value. It's the mystery, the what if, the sense that history sometimes plays tricks, that in a world built on precision and record-keeping, a few coins can simply defy the rules and slip through unnoticed. So the next time you handle a 50-cent coin from the 1980s, take a closer look. Check the date, feel its edges. If it says 1985 and it's not from a collector's set, you might just be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pieces of circulating Australian currency ever produced, a genuine treasure worth as much as $35,000. And the best part? You don't need to be a millionaire or a professional collector to find one. All it takes is curiosity, patience, and a little bit of luck. Because sometimes, the most valuable treasures don't glitter in gold. They sit quietly in your change, waiting for someone who knows what to look for. So before you spend your next 50-cent coin, take a moment to flip it over. Check the date and really look, because that small silver coin in your hand might just hold a story worth $35,000 and the thrill of a lifetime. Next up, you might want to grab your wallet and take a deep breath, because the story of Australia's 1966 round 50-cent coin isn't just about silver or rarity. It's about history, national identity, and one of the most dramatic turns in Australian numismatic history. A coin that, at face value, was worth just 50 cents, but today, the right one can fetch up to 57,000, and it all started with a bold experiment, a mistake of value, and a legacy that still echoes through every collector's dream. The year was 1966, a defining moment in Australia's monetary history. The nation was about to undergo one of its biggest changes ever, the shift from pounds, shillings, and pence to a brand new decimal currency. It was a cultural milestone, a modernization, and a logistical challenge of immense scale. On the 14th of February 1966, the day that became known as C-Day, Australians woke up to new notes and coins
that would reshape the way they
counted and spent money. Among those new coins was a shining piece of silver-colored metal, large, round, and strikingly beautiful, the first ever Australian 50-cent coin. It was made of 80% silver and 20% copper, weighing over 13 grams, with a bright, lustrous sheen that caught the eye of every Australian who held it. On the obverse, it bore the elegant effigy of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machin, youthful, regal, timeless. On the reverse, the national coat of arms, crafted by the great Stuart Devlin, showcasing the kangaroo, the emu, and the Australian shield, a symbol of unity and identity. It was bold, it was new, and it was valuable, perhaps a little too valuable. You see, when the Royal Australian Mint began producing the 1966 round 50-cent coin, the value of silver on the global market was relatively stable. Each coin contained about a third of an ounce of silver, which seemed perfectly fine for circulation at the time. But soon after the coin's release, the silver price began to climb sharply. Within months, the silver content in the coin was worth more than 50 cents in raw metal value. Australians quickly realized something extraordinary. They were literally holding money that was worth more melted down than spent, and that realization spread fast. People began hoarding the new 50-cent coins. They disappeared from circulation almost overnight. Banks ran out. The public lined up to exchange paper currency for these shiny silver discs. Some melted them for profit. Others stored them away in drawers, boxes, and vaults, anticipating their rising value. By the time the mint and the government realized the problem, it was too late. The 1966 round 50-cent coin was withdrawn from circulation after just 1 year, replaced the following year by the familiar 12-sided, dodecagonal, cupro-nickel version that we still use today. The round 50-cent coin was never minted again. In total, around 36 million round 50-cent coins were struck, but millions were hoarded, melted, or lost over time. While that might sound like a large number, finding one today in pristine, uncirculated condition is exceedingly rare. Most of the coins that survive have scratches, tarnish, or signs of circulation. True mint state examples. Flawless coins that have retained their original silver luster are now highly sought after by collectors. with the finest known examples reaching astronomical prices at auction. And then there are the proof and error versions, the holy grails of Australian coin collecting. Some early 1966 round 50-cent coins were struck using experimental dies or special finishes for presentation purposes. These coins, with their mirror-like surfaces and perfectly crisp details, are incredibly scarce, and when they do appear on the market, they can fetch tens of thousands of dollars. One exceptional specimen, graded to the highest standard and preserved in pristine condition, once sold for $57,000, setting a record that sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. But beyond the money, beyond the precious metal, the 1966 round 50-cent coin holds a deeper kind of value. It's a tangible link to a moment of national transformation. The day Australia stepped into a new era of currency. It represents the bridge between the old world and the modern age, between shillings and cents, between tradition and innovation. For collectors, owning one isn't just about investment. It's about owning a piece of history. It's the sound of the mint presses in Canberra in 1966, the shine of new coins glinting under fluorescent lights, the excitement of a nation embracing a new identity. And for those who collect Australian coins, the round 50 cent isn't just another coin, it's the coin, the one that started it all. Imagine finding one today. You're rummaging through an old box of keepsakes, maybe something you inherited from a grandparent. Among the buttons, stamps, and faded banknotes, you notice a large silver coin. It feels heavier than usual, smoother around the edges. You hold it up and your eyes widen. It's round. The date reads 1966, your hands tremble slightly. Could it be real? You check the details. The Queen's portrait, the coat of arms, everything matches. You've just found one of Australia's first and most iconic 50-cent coins, a relic of history, and possibly one worth thousands, maybe tens of thousands. Even circulated examples of the 1906 round 50 cent are valuable because of their silver content alone. Each coin contains about 0.3416 troy ounces of pure silver. Multiply that by current silver prices, and even the most common examples are worth well above face value. But when you factor in condition, rarity, and historical significance, the potential value skyrockets. Collectors look for specific traits: crisp edges, no wear on the Queen's crown, minimal tarnish, and sharp detail in the kangaroo and emu's feathers. The better the condition, the higher the price. And if you have one still sealed from a 1966 mint set, untouched for nearly 60 years, you could be sitting on a coin worth a small fortune. The irony is beautiful. What was once withdrawn for being too valuable has now become even more valuable, not for its silver, but for its story. The 1966 round 50-cent coin stands as a perfect metaphor for Australia's evolution. It represents a moment when precision met opportunity, when economy met emotion, and when the people themselves determined the destiny of a coin. The public's reaction, the hoarding, the fascination, the attachment, turned this piece of currency into a legend. Today, owning one is like holding a piece of Australia's soul in your hand, the weight of silver and the weight of history intertwined. So before you spend that old 50-cent coin, before you dismiss it as just another piece of change, take a closer look. Is it round, not 12-sided? Does it shimmer with that unmistakable silver hue? If so, you might be holding a slice of 1966, a coin that changed the course of Australian minting history, and one that could be worth far, far more than 50 cents, because sometimes the real treasure isn't hidden in a vault or locked away in a museum. Sometimes it's sitting quietly in an old drawer, waiting for someone with curious eyes to rediscover it. And maybe, just maybe, that someone could be you. The 1966 round 50-cent coin, the coin that was too valuable to spend, too iconic to forget and too rare to ignore. A silver piece of Australian history that reminds us all, sometimes, the smallest details tell the biggest stories. From the tilted die of 2010 to the Incuse Flag of 2000. From missing initials and secret mint sets, all the way back to the shimmering silver of 1966. Each of these coins is more than just money. They're stories, little pieces of history that connect us to the past, to craftsmanship, to change, and to the thrill of discovery. Every coin that passes through your hands has a journey, a beginning, a mystery, and sometimes a value far beyond its face. So next time you find a 50-cent coin, don't just spend it. Study it. Look closer, because fortune doesn't always come in gold. Sometimes it hides in silver, nickel, and chance. And if you love stories like this, stories of rare finds, hidden treasures, and the secrets of coins, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give this video a thumbs up and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next discovery.